take the time to look deeper. The-
I am glad to be here. If you didn't pick up one of these, raise your hand and I'll bring you one. Is there anybody? Got a couple back here? You need one? There you go. There you go. You're welcome. I am with Health Talents International. We are, I know that Rick Harper has been here a few times to speak to you. And Rick is still with the organization. He will be full-time through the end of this year. But I have assumed the role of the U.S. Missions Director, which he has had for now 21 years. So, it's been a great transition. I was an educator for my career, and I took the position in 2005 with Harding Academy as the school principal. And so I've been over there. I was over there for 14 years and served in that role. And then when I stepped down, Rick asked, what would you think about it? And so I went to work for Health Talents 5 years ago, and now the U.S. Missions Director. And I get to go to Guatemala quite often. In fact, I'll have one more trip for the year, which will make 9 trips this year, and leading groups and so forth. We will have, by year end, about 670 volunteers go on trips this year. We will service about 44,000 Guatemalans, and that is with health care, surgical care, and dental care. And so we do a lot of work with a lot of people over there, and it's such a blessing to be a part of their lives. This morning, I want to start with a video. I'm pretty sure you guys have not seen this. It was created for our 50th anniversary, which was last year, 2023. We had an event in Nashville where we had about 450 people come and celebrate with us. We actually had 3 events. That was the one in the States. Then we had one at Clinica Isel, which is our hospital that we own and operate in Guatemala. We had about 1,500 people show up for that one. And our cooks of about 8 fed all 1,500 of them fried chicken and a casserole and so forth. And so that was quite something to see, because we have a very small kitchen. It's about the size of yours in here. And those ladies get in there and they just do a dandy job. And then we had another celebration in Chichicastenango, which is where our other clinic is, up in the Highlands. And there were roughly 2,000 people showed up for that one. We invited all of the area-wide churches that we work with, which is about 60 in number. And we invited them and their leadership and their families to come and celebrate with us. And that was the turnout that we had in Guatemala for our 50th. So it was quite neat to see. What we did, something special, was that we had a video made, and that's what this one is. It debuted at the 50th in Nashville, and we're going to watch that real quick. It's very short. It's about 6-7 minutes long, but it gives you some aerial footage of our clinic, our hospital. It will be talking about what we do. It will show you some of our mission work that we do on site, where we go out on mobile medical. So we'll take small teams of doctors and nurses and sometimes dentists out and set up in a church, and then they will hold clinic for a day. We do that 3 days a week during the week, and those clinics are taking place every day during the week. And so it's a pretty neat thing to see and be a part of, but that's how we service so many people. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we do that in just a little bit. But can we show that video? Is it ready to go? All right.
Life in Guatemala may appear to be abundant, but if you take the time to look deeper, visual evidence of spiritual and physical disease is everywhere. A mobile medical team recently traveled from the United States to Guatemala, determined to share their skills and talents. Their goal? Simple. Show the love of Jesus by offering medical and spiritual care in His name.
rainforests, the gorgeous views that there are of this whole country, from one coast to another almost in the highest areas. The atmosphere is happy.
There's something about these people it really strikes my heart. The love for family that they have, the desire, the faith that they have. And we tend to take things for granted. At home, I can get out of my nice bed on my carpeted floor, walk into a nice tile bathroom, turn on cold, clean, drinkable water. I can jump in a shower with hot water. And yet, when you have to get up in the morning on a dirt floor and out of a makeshift bed and then have to walk half a mile to get some water that's not even purified water, that's hard. And yet, that to them it's not a burden, it's life, and they live it well. We can learn a lot from these people.
Delivering health care is a respected way to serve. Health Talent's approach to sharing the gospel was straight out of the Bible. Jesus taught and healed. That's what we aim to do. You've got to go into their community and do so with the intent of using their language and respecting their culture. We've helped grow Christian professionals who can serve their community.
Muy buen día, que Dios les bendiga. Gracias. Iniciamos los trabajos cada día con el traslado de medicinas hacia las comunidades, áreas donde necesitan la asistencia médica. Hay comunidades muy lejos, pues el objetivo es ayudar y anunciar también el evangelismo, ¿verdad? We have, I think it's 57 patients.
Well, okay.
Long day.
Quería usar mi talento, el que tengo, por ejemplo, ayudar a los doctores con los pacientes a comunicarse, porque hay una barrera en el idioma y eso me ha cambiado mucho, me ha hecho más humilde y más empática con los demás también.
The community has embraced us. I think they see the need, they know that they need physically and spiritual help.
They need to have someone that they can look to and hang on to and have faith in, and that needs to be Jesus Christ.
We frequently have patients that, they come in with a physical problem, but you quickly discover that there's something else going on. Lots of things going on in their lives, and they'll share it pretty quickly. It's not just giving a prescription. It's being a part of someone's life and showing them that God really does care about their whole being.
We have more people coming to the church through relationships through the clinic, through relationships through family counseling, than through any other method of evangelism.
I always look forward to coming down here. It's not only to help the people here, but it's always a big refresh for me in my work back in the States with heavy regulations.
Can she see out of this eye?
It's refreshing. This is why I went into this specialty, is to be able to do stuff like this. And even with the results that they get, they're just overwhelmed with happiness.
Solamente muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Dios lo bendiga.
It's nice not to have to think about making a living, just giving my services for God's children. Just right. My whole career, it's about making a living. So now that I'm retired, I'd like to give back.
Part of what makes us different why many healthcare providers enjoy working with us is when they leave, we have a team that can follow up on the care that patient needs. If they need a new prescription, then we're there. They need to follow up after surgery, we're there.
What used to be North American nurses entering and running the post-op area, our Guatemalan nurses work with us. We're now working together side by side, and it's beautiful.
By being there perpetually instead of episodically, we're able to build relationships that it helps the community, it helps the family, and then it helps the church. And what we see is kingdom growth.
There's something going on in this country where Christianity is growing, and we want to be a part of that.
There's going to be a need in Guatemala for health talents until Jesus comes back. And the more the churches use us as an outreach, the more we're going to grow, and the more patients that are going to continue to come to us. When you hear the words that, I hear this is where Jesus works, we're just going to continue to hear that and hear it even more.
God wants us to use the talents that we have. This is not just for doctors. There's so many ways for people to plug in.
Everybody has a place. Just sitting by the bedside and holding somebody's hand because they're scared to death. They're here alone. They're 4 hours from their family. To see young people that will selflessly give up, especially during this season, a week of their summer, who are learning what it means to serve, to step outside of what's comfortable, and to give of themselves.
As we continue to go forward, I think that health talents will continue to grow. I think God is going to continue to bless it.
We've changed lives in the past, but what we can do in the future with God's hands upon us.
There's so many ways to support an organization like this from the United States.
There's always an opportunity to share Him in this work in some way.
His plan is so much bigger than anything we could have ever imagined. But God is blessed. Oh my goodness, He's blessed this organization for now 50 years. And I don't doubt that there's another 50 in the future.
Thousands of people have come through the doors here as volunteers, as doctors, or nurses, students. I feel like the way to another 50 years, the proof of that is in every patient that walks out of here. And that's what will carry this organization for another 50 years.
That video was shot last July at one of our I-trips, and typically during an I-trip we will service about 120 people and doing pterygiums and so forth, and so those are some of the most biblical experiences, because you will have someone who comes in with cataracts that are so bad that they've not seen for years. They've had no vision whatsoever. And many of them have never even seen their grandchildren. And so they come in, they'll have the procedure done, in 45 minutes they have sight. And it's like, it's just been lifted. It's a burden and something that has just dramatically changes their lives. And it is so profound. The woman that was giving the surgeon a hug, it's just an incredible thing to see, because they've not been able to see at all. And to have sight and to have it so quickly and just being restored, all in the name of Jesus, is so profound. And it's such a blessing to them. I want to talk a little bit today about how we go about doing what we do. It's kind of a holistic approach. When I was in education back in the mid-'80s at Lubbock Christian University, we talked a lot about holistic learning. We talked about the fact that if you're going to teach someone about, a math subject like division or whatever, then you use that division in everything you're doing. So you use it in reading, you do it in writing, you do it in different kinds of language and all of those kind of things. In science, you talk about those kind of things so that it's all encompassing. It all works together. It's a holistic approach. Well, Health Talents does the same thing to healing. And because we are made up of many different parts, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you a little story. I know of the age group that's in here, most of you have heard of Zig Ziglar, so you know who he was. And he wrote a book called See You at the Top many years ago. It had a profound impact on my mom. And he tells a story about a young executive who comes home one day and his little boy wants to go play. You know how, I had all girls, so I don't know what it's like to have a boy, but the boys are just more active. They're always wanting to go out and do something. So he gets home, he's tired, he's been at the office all day, and he comes in and he sits down, and his young son comes in and just wants to go play. Daddy, can we go out and throw the ball? And he's like, son, give me just a few minutes. I just need a little bit of time. Just give me a couple of minutes. So his son runs off, Well, it's not 30 seconds later, and he's back in the room again. Daddy, can we go play? Can we go play? He's like, no, not right now. Let's just give me 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes. So his son runs off. Well, again, comes right back. Well, he has like a magazine that he's looking at, and it's sitting by his chair, and he sees it, and there's a big old picture of a world on it. So he takes that and tears it out, and then he tears it up in a bunch of little pieces, and he throws it down on the floor and says, here, put this world together, put this picture together, and then when you're finished, we'll go out and play. Well, he's figuring he's got at least 10 minutes, right? So his son gets down on the floor, and he starts putting this thing together. And he goes back to, just kind of checking stuff on his phone or whatever. But it's not even a minute later, and his son comes up and says, Daddy, I finished the picture. Can we go out and play now? And he looks down, and the world is all together. He's like, how did you do that? He's thinking, I'm raising a prodigy here. This kid is a genius. And he looks at it, and he said, son, how did you do that so quickly? And he said, well, I was putting it together, and I noticed there was a man on the other side. So I put the man together, and then I flipped it all over, and the world was together. Well, that's the way Jesus taught. That's the way Jesus operated. He healed people knowing that he could heal one person, one soul at a time. And that's how the world is going to come back together. We live in a broken world. You can go to that next slide. We have all kinds of issues in our world today, all kinds of problems, all kinds of things. But we all know what the outcome is going to be. The world it's won back. Jesus will win the battle. The war will be won, and we all know that. But the fact still remains that we're still working one soul at a time, and we're still healing people. And we're still carrying on the same things that Jesus did. Let's go to the next. Oh, we're already there. Having seen them. This is kind of one of our philosophies. Having to see them. To see, recognize someone. And then to serve them. And restoring mankind one soul at a time. Well, we're made up of several different parts. Let's go to that next slide. This is our mission statement, to proclaim the gospel of Jesus through Christ in teaching and healing ministries. We are a healing ministry. We work to heal people, but it's more than just the physical body. Let's go to the next slide. We do that through a holistic and medical evangelism, and we do that through working to heal the whole person. You can't just heal the ailment. That's just one piece. So if you look at who we are, you and I and the people in Guatemala or the people in other Central American countries or Africa or anywhere else, we are all made up of 4 different parts. We have our physical, right? We have our spiritual. We have our social, and we have our emotional. If any one of these pieces is not whole, if any one of these pieces is not all intact, then we tend to not be all right. There always seems to be something within us that's not quite there. If we have a back issue and it bothers us every time we get out of a chair or every time we get out of bed, it will affect us. It affects our social because we can't get out and do things with other people. It affects our emotional just because it's depressing. It's hard to have an ailment that you can't get rid of. It affects our spiritual because we can't be involved as we want to with other spiritual beings and other people that we associate with. So if any one of these pieces is not quite right, then we're not whole. Does that make sense? Well, our objective is to fix the physical. That's where we start. We start with the physical because if we can help them with their ailment, if we can help them with a hernia that they've been carrying around for years, if we can take that burden away from them and help them heal that, then it begins to change the rest of their being. And so all of these four things are so important, and not just them, but to us as well. And so when we take groups down, we are also healing our own spiritual. We're also healing our own social. We'll take 13 surgical teams a year. 13 surgical teams. And each one of those surgical teams is made up of anywhere between 35 and 45 people on each team. That's how we get up to those numbers of like 650 volunteers a year. We also have, there's 18 trips on our calendar, but some of those are university trips. We work with Lipscomb University, we work with Harding University, Oklahoma Christian, and Abilene Christian. All of those schools are sending students. So they're sending PA students, nursing students, pre-med students, all of them to gain experience of working with patients and so forth, doing patient evaluations, helping in dentistry, helping in pharmaceuticals. All of those things are there to develop them into becoming what they want to be. We're growing people through that so that they can continue to work with us through this. Because this is what Jesus taught us. This is what Jesus said. This is what's important. You need to be with these people. You need to heal these people. You need to work with these people. You need to solve their ailments so that their spiritual can thrive. And if we can do that, if you can do that in your community here, that's the kingdom. That's the kingdom growth that Jesus wants of us and calls us to do. Let's go to the next slide. We do this through several different facets, and it's not just the surgical. It's not just the helping students go down and gain experience. It's through a lot of different things that we do. Our Kingdom Growth Formula starts with an ABC program, and that's a child sponsorship program. I have some flyers up here if someone is interested, but what we do is to date, we have about 720 people from the States who sponsor children. One of the things we noticed back in the mid-'80s was that children dropping out of school, the national dropout age is 4th grade, okay, in Guatemala, 4th grade. And that's typically higher among girls. So if you're not going to school, if you're not finishing your schooling, like when we say finishing, we're thinking high school, right? I mean, that's your primary grade. Most every student in the U.S. will go through high school. But we're just trying to keep them through into junior high and then into high school, if we can do that. So the child sponsorship program helps them stay in school. It covers their expenses, okay? It covers some of those. It also helps them stay healthy. We promise to do, each child, we promise to do 2 physical and 2 dental checks a year on each one of those kids. The other thing is we provide a water filter for their home. We provide food for their families twice a year. And then we provide any expenses that are associated with their schooling. And sometimes that can be an issue. Because like in our communities, having an elementary school within a mile of your home is not uncommon. And there's really an elementary school in most smaller communities. But if you're going to go to the junior high age level, then you're going to have to travel somewhere to get to a school. And travel is not easy there. If you're going to go to high school, it's even further away. And so typically a high schooler will have to live somewhere closer to the school, and there's expenses that are associated with that. So we're trying to keep them in school, okay? But that's kind of how the ABC program. So $40 a month from a sponsor will cover all of that for one child for a year. And like I said, we've got, in the neighborhood of 740 kids, 730 in that neighborhood right now, of children that are being sponsored, and we're seeing them all the time. We get to go and have ABC clinics with them, and they're coming in for their health and dental and well checks. It's really pretty neat to see. The medical, dental, and surgical clinics. That's what Dr. Walter, you saw him get out of the pickup truck. He was holding a clinic that day. That church was filled with people. They'll go to the same location once a month so that that church knows they can use that as an evangelistic tool. So they'll invite their neighbors. If you've got an ailment, if you've got a toothache that won't go away, or if you have something that's not quite right, you're running a fever or whatever, the church will use that. Come to church with me on this day, and we're going to have a clinic there, and the doctors will be able to see you and help you. That is a huge tool for the churches. And so we will hold these clinics 3 days a week at each one of our 2 sites, and they're going out to different locations once a month, and it's just a fantastic way of servicing the churches and the churches helping us in our ministry. The medical evangelism training, the MET program. This is really unique for students who are in students in the States who are in like pre-med or nursing who want to go into missions. You have to be a sophomore, junior, or senior, and you would apply. We take 12 students a year. It's a 6-week program, and those students will go over. They get 1 week of language school, and then they spend the rest of that time living with a family. It's full immersion experience, and that can be quite interesting. You hear some really good stories about what that's like, because it's not easy. And so, typically cold showers, typically dirt floors in their homes, typically sleeping on a mat, all of those kind of things, eating with their family. So you eat a lot of black beans and rice and tortillas. But it's a full immersion experience because we want to provide them with what it's really going to be like if they decide to go into the mission field. So we'll take 12 students a year, and they do that, and we're looking for students now. So if you know of anyone who is university level who might want to go into missions, who has an idea that they like medical, this will be a great program for them to apply for. Scholarship programs. We offer, to date, we have 33 students who are in Guatemala who are on full scholarship right now. That means they are either in high school, finishing up high school, or they are in one of the universities. And many of them, we have 6 who are nursing students, we have 7 who are pre-med, we have 2 dentists, and 1 in psychology. And then the rest of them are all high school students. But they have to, 1, do well in school for us to continue their tuition, all of their tuition expenses. And we have them report to us several times a year. And so they are busy working at their studies and doing all of those things. Once they graduate, then we ask that they come and work for us for the same period of time that they receive scholarship services. So if it was 4 or 5 years, 6 years, then they come and work for us. We pay them a full salary, but they're contracted to stay with us for that period of time, okay? And so it helps us, to be able to have those folks working for us, but it also provides them their first job once they graduate and gain experience in the medical field that they've chosen. So it's really, really a good win-win for both of us. We have 73 that work for us full-time in Guatemala. 70 of them are Guatemalan. Those numbers make up, there's doctors, there's nurses, there's dentists, hygienists. We have people that do landscaping. We have people that work as guards. Evangelists, we have 6 evangelists that work full-time for us. So when we talk about that, Rick was discussing like long-term versus short-term. Our short-term missions, we have groups that go in for a week, but they're not doing a whole lot of evangelism, they're doing a lot of healing. But our team on the ground will carry that forward in setting up Bible studies and setting up all kinds of things for those folks who are interested. So it continues on. It's the way that we operate. But out of all of those employees that we have, of those 73, 70 of them, about 21 of them started with us as ABC kids when they started first grade, and then worked their way through, went on into high school, graduated, went on into college, graduated, and have now come back and are working for us. It's like a Lion King kind of thing, you know, the big, you know, circle of life. It's really pretty cool to see. Community health evangelism. We do a lot of community outreach and education, talking about ways of staying healthy. Drinking clean water and wearing shoes are the 2 biggest things. If you can wear shoes on your feet and cover your feet from getting sores and getting cuts and so forth that get infected, then you will stay, your life will be much better. You'll be much more healthier. Drinking clean water is a biggie. A lot of times the water that they are drinking is not purified, and so if we can help them in that arena, then that's a big plus for them as well. Traditional evangelism training. We do 4 times a year. We are sending someone down to do mission work with like the churches, and they'll hold like an area-wide congregational kind of a topic. So it'll be like on men's service or leadership, church leadership. It could be women's leadership within the churches, different things that the women do. Sometimes it's couples, so they'll do marriage enrichment and things like that. So there's lots of different ways that we will send down folks that will help in different areas in different ways within the churches themselves. So all of these things are a part of what we do as a whole. It's like, you know, we talk a lot about the surgical trips, and we talk a lot about those kind of things, but what you don't hear much about is like the ABC program where these kids are involved, or the scholarship program and so forth. All right, let's go to the next slide. And this is what Rick was talking about in the video, the episodical approach versus the perpetual approach. Episodic meaning that, you know, it's like a one-time thing. So you may go on a mission trip, which is a great thing. You would go on one of our trips. You'll spend the week working with some wonderful, wonderful people, our TSI staff and the patients that come in. It will be a fantastic experience for you. But when you start talking about long-term, how are we really spiritually affecting these people that came to us? Well, that has to be the perpetual approach. That has to be the people that we have on the ground that are continuing that service. So if you've had a surgery, you're coming back in a week to get rechecked, right? You want to make sure everything is healing correctly. You want to make sure that you're not running fever. There's no issues with your surgical procedure. I mean, you do the same thing. If you have a procedure, you go back to see your doctor for an evaluation after the fact. Well, they go back to our clinics, and they're seeing our doctors, and they're also seeing our evangelists. And so that carries over through a long-term relationship of helping these people with their spiritual. And so there you go. We've tied in 2 together, and they were very, very closely related. So the permanent team is so critical to what we do. It's a very, very important piece. And the fact that they are native is a very, very important piece. They're speaking evangelism in the people's tongue. They're in their own, from their own culture, from all of those things, and that's a huge benefit to sharing faith. To hear it in your own, you know, in your native language. All right, let's go to the next slide. Over 70 TSI staff. These are pictures of some of our staff members. You saw Dr. Walter, the one in the top right. He's actually here. We're having a board meeting next week in Alpharetta, Georgia, and Dr. Walter and his wife are coming in. We're going to celebrate them. He's been with Help Talents now for 23 years, working. He's our lead family physician, and everything that happens in Guatemala works under his license in Guatemala. So he's a very important piece of what we do. But the rest of these guys, the guy on the top left, he's one of our doctors. The one in the picture next to them, two of them are translators. The one on the right side there, he's a pharmacy. And then the ones in the middle, the team of what is it, 7? That's our dental staff at the hospital. We have a dental clinic, 5 chairs, and they stay busy. In fact, they're booked out 3 months out. And so they stay busy all the time. But 3 of those are dentists, one of them's a hygienist, and the rest of them are staff members that operate the clinic, the dental clinic. But those folks stay busy all the time, and they work for us full time. And so it's a great honor to be able to call them friends and so forth. All right, let's go to the next one. This is what we do. This is who we are. And I would be open to questions if you had any about some of the things we've done and so forth. But if anybody has a question, I'd be more than happy to answer it. I don't know how much time I have left either. So.
We're getting close. I was going to ask.
Okay. Yes.
Martin's going with y'all in February. He's been asking if people can go, wherever. I just wanted to maybe ask. Martin talked about what a great deal is because it's kind of a tax write-off. Can you explain some of the financials?
Yes. If you were to go on one of our trips, we have fees that are associated with that. So we have a trip fee that would be $9.50, and then you have your flight, wherever your origination is. So if you're flying out of Little Rock, I assume that would be the closest from here, you're probably looking at about $650 for flight, $700 maybe. Depends on the time of year that you're flying out of. So your expenses for a 1-week trip would be that. So you're looking at around $600 or $1,500 to $1,600. Okay, and that would be your whole week. So Saturday to Saturday, and it includes all of your transportation, all of your stay, all of your food. We take fantastic care of you. We will take care of all your flight stuff. We'll take care of all those arrangements. And we have a wonderful place for you to stay. The footage that you saw, that's our hospital. That's where you'll stay. And so we have what we call a dormitory, or it's almost like it is more like a dormitory if you think about it from our perspective. And so we have rooms for you to stay in. We have clean restrooms, fresh water to drink. We bring in these cooks, 6 cooks that work for us all week, and they're fantastic. I mean, they are the most wonderful cooks, and they do such a great job of taking care of all of our food needs. And so all of those things are a part of a 1-week trip. Like I said, we have 13 of those a year, so there's one basically every month. And so if you were inclined to want to do that, you do not have to be medical in order to go on one of our trips. We take about 6 to 8 different people who are non-medical every time. We call them caregivers, and those folks will go into the recovery ward, and you will assist the nurses. And so whatever the nurses are needing done, whether that's getting a patient up and walking them, it's one of the most important parts after some surgeries, to get them up and moving. Taking them, walking them to the restroom, or just walking them around the ward, those kind of things, changing linens, just assisting, whatever needs to be done. There's always a job to be, to help with. But those are what non-medical. If you are a dentist, we would put you to work in the dental ward. If you were a nurse, we would put you to work in the recovery ward. And so there's lots of different opportunities for those who are medical and non-medical. Is that good?
Yes. So, any other questions? We're going to close it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I have some more flyers up here if you were interested in any of these things. Thank you very much for coming. I certainly appreciate it.